What's up, comic fans? And we got something special today. We are doing the five, count it, five. Now, these are groups or sets, if you will, or couples, however you want to put it. So it's 10 characters total, but the five slots, five sets of characters that you would trade for each other, okay? So, just for example, let's say I would trade Spider-Man for Batman for 5 years, and we're gonna do five of those. Okay, so imagine if you will, those characters would live in that other universe for 5 years. So, what characters would you like to see in a different universe for 5 years? And they got to be Marvel and DC. Those were the limitations set by my man Alex Big Blue. Love you, Blue. Um, who started a 500 sub challenge, if you will, or contest. Really, it's a 500 sub contest. He's giving away some books for this contest, but this is a fun exercise in stretching the comic mind. And so I've come up with a list of a set of five characters who I would trade for each other to live in the alternate universe, or the ultimate comic universe, if you will, for 5 years. All right. So let's get into it. First off, I would like to see, and remember, these characters aren't facing each other, not fighting each other. They are trading places. They are switching. So for whatever reason this happens, right? These characters' paths won't really cross. I mean, maybe they know about it and they're like, hey, let me spend some time in your universe and you spend some time in mine. Huh? How's that sound? But let's get into it. So first off, we're gonna start off big, okay? When you think big events, when we think the MCU, right? When we think DC animation, they're big characters, right? Even when what we're getting with the Snyderverse at some point, we think two big purplish and gray guys. We've got Darkseid and Thanos. I think what you get here is a really interesting dynamic. If you think about the two strongest characters in the DC universe, they may be stronger than the two strongest characters in the Marvel universe in terms of brains and brawn. I'm talking about Wonder Woman and Superman. When we go to the Marvel universe, I don't know what we got. Maybe we got Sentry, but Sentry's a little bit off his rocker, if you will. So who's the mega boss, right? Who's the mega hero in the Marvel universe? And go ahead and throw that in the comments if you want to do that. But I think if Darkseid and Thanos traded places, there could be some trouble in the Marvel universe having to deal with Darkseid, right? It's like Thanos-esque, but maybe a little bit more thought out, a little bit less crazed. Not that Thanos is crazed, but I think Darkseid just keeps his cool just a little bit better. And yeah, Darkseid's got a power set that's way more interesting than Thanos. Now on the flip side, excuse me as I take a sip of my beverage, you've got Thanos and going over to DC, and he's probably something they've never seen either. I mean, they've seen really chaotic villains over there, right? But have they seen one as thought out and methodical as Thanos? One who has one kind of sole purpose, right? He thinks he's doing well because he's trying to save the universe, if you will. He's not about ruling the universe per se. It's more about saving everybody. But in the same vein, he goes about it in a way that eliminates half populations by half, if you will. So it'd be really interesting for 5 years to see what these characters would do in alternate universes. All right, let's move on to number 2. We're gonna go a little bit more fun on this one, and we're gonna trade Damian Wayne for Spider Boy. I think those dynamics would be really cool in alternate universes, right? Imagine that cutting personality of Damian Wayne operating with Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and his dad jokes and just his wit, his funny demeanor, right? Because Spider Boy is a little bit more forgiving. I think he can play off Spider-Man in some ways more as a sidekick, where Damian Wayne be like, what are we doing? What's with all the jokes? Can we just finish this guy and just like stab him? So I think that dynamic would be really cool. Vice versa, you'd have the ever-loving Spider Boy, who's had Spider-Man kind of rub off on him, right? So he'd probably be a little bit of a jokester, and you'd have Batman being like, "Ugh, why aren't you trained? Keep training. Stop talking so much. Are you really always that hungry? Can you not make a joke while you're busting crime?" So I would really dig to see that. And who knows, maybe Batman would get a little bit softer, not having to deal with Damian Wayne's consistent arguing in Spider-Man. I don't know what he would do with Damian. I can't see him getting more violent, but maybe he could tone Damian down in some ways. So that would be really cool. All right, we're gonna move on to the third trade, and my third trade involves Vigilante from the DC universe and Deadpool. Now imagine that. I mean, have you watched the Peacemaker HBO show? If you haven't, you should. And if you have been, then you know what I'm talking about. Imagine these two guys getting together and the insanity that would ensue. Um, Both similar in terms of skill set, except Wade, you know, he's pretty much well, he can't die per se, but the uh, the personalities are pretty similar, the skill sets are pretty similar. So I just think them switching sides would be amazing. But there would have to be a point, I think, in this trade where they meet and they're just like, "Hey, man, give some notes," and then go about their business. But that'd be a really awesome trade, if only for the fact that both universes would be like, "We thought we got rid of like your type, like you. Is it just you wearing a different costume? Is this a new costume? You know?" So I think that would be a pretty funny one, having Vigilante and Deadpool swapping sides. I think somewhere in there, though, at the end of the 5 years, they got to do a team up. All right, moving on. We have Red Tornado and Vision being traded. I mean, um, slightly different skill sets, but still artificial intelligence, if you will, robotic in some ways, if you will, highly highly intelligent, if you will, searching for that thing that makes them more than just an android or not exactly human. And I think that would be an interesting dynamic. Maybe you get somebody like Tom King to write, to write this. Um, but yeah, I think that would be a really awesome trade just to see how the different skill sets go. Right. I think right now Red Tornado is operating more as like the guy in the van, if you will, and the Vision's got a really cool power set. I mean, he's what does he have? Intangibility. He can, he can, or he could become extremely dense. Red Tornado's got wind attacks and physical strength. Uh, it'd be really interesting. It'd be a really interesting trade, if you will, to see how. I think the Justice League, right? Justice League Unlimited right now has Red Tornado. They'd have to utilize Vision in a different way. I think Vision might have to go more from the man in the van to a boots on the ground kind of guy. Meanwhile, the Avengers might be able to benefit from Red Tornado and kind of keep him in the same aspect and use him when needed. I think Red Tornado, while still a very cool character, is just not as suited. And that doesn't mean Red Tornado hasn't gotten his hands dirty in the past. I just don't think he's as powerful as Vision. I mean, they're both very strong. Both can fly. Neither one of them get tired. Um, and Red Tornado can bend air and wind to his will. So maybe he does end up in the field. I don't know, but I think that would be a very interesting, trade, if you will. My last one is Superman. Excuse me as I take another drink. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. You know what I'm gonna say. And the Century, right? So here we have two very powerful beings. Century may even be as powerful, if not more powerful, than Superman. But and here's the big kicker is, right. While Superman is your all American nice guy, a guy you trust with your dog or your baby. Sentry is, for all his strength, he's weak in the mind. For lack of a better way to put it, um, he's got that darker side to him. He's got the void in him. So at any time, Sentry can just become as evil as he is good. Whereas Superman is theoretically good through and through. So it'd be very interesting to see especially how Sentry would do in the DC universe, right? Especially with Batman always watching over. I mean, the Bats is not gonna just let this guy come in and just run free. So I think that's a really interesting dynamic, especially to see how the guys from the Avengers would receive. Sorry, not Avengers. The Justice League would receive Sentry, and then vice versa. How are the Avengers gonna deal with Superman? I I mean, honestly, I think at the end of the day, they're gonna want to keep Superman, right? They're gonna be like, Superman, you stay here. Sentry, stay over there. But yeah, I mean, power wise, Superman and Sentry may be just as strong as each other. Maybe Superman has a little bit more will, a little bit more oomph, go get itness. Um, he's powerful. Superman's powerful, and it's just his determination that makes him just as makes him strong, if not stronger. Um, Sentry, he's got a fragile mental state, so you never know. You never know when he's gonna have mental breakdown, if you will. But strength, I mean, they both have limitless strength, so it's crazy. Sentry can break the Hulk's bones, and Superman, he's fought Doomsday. He can knock Darkseid on his butt, so that's it's pretty crazy. Sentry can kind of regenerate, so that's a interesting thing. They both have energy projection, which is cool. Superman is usually immune to mental attacks, so that's pretty decent. And Sentry's known to have some psychic ability, so they both fly. They're both fast, so that would be amazing. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see what happens, and then to have a guy who's got mental problems, if you will, but also he doesn't have a super weakness like Kryptonite. I'm sure Batman would find a way to break him down mentally, but that's a thing. And then they're both susceptible to magic, so it'd be really interesting to see what they did in 5 years with those guys. But all right, comic fans, those were the 5 sets of characters I would trade, 10 total. We had Darkseid for Thanos, we had Damian Wayne for Spider-Boy, Vigilante for Deadpool, Red Tornado for Vision, and Superman for Sentry. We're trading those guys over. I'm gonna come back 5 years later and see what the deal is. All right, so comic fans, do what you do. I'm gonna do what I do. I'm gonna get ready to think about these trades. Don't forget to go check out my boy Alex Big Blue. He's at 500 subs. He's actually a little bit past that right now, so that's awesome. Go check him out. Came up with this awesome idea. And yeah, that's it. Peace. Deuces. We're out. Ka-chink.